Alright guys, there we are. We are live for the Season 4 draft of the UBL, at least for half of it. Because we are going to go over the draft picks for the Shield division. And in case you guys don't know, tomorrow the draft will go down for the Sword division. So if you're interested as well, be sure to check it out. Links will definitely be posted there as well on the screens. You can all check that out. If you haven't done it already, as in the title, you can use !UBL to get link to everything which is UBL related, everything you want to know. And also, one last thing, first time this thing is actually going to be live. I'm going to quickly post in the chat as well, but we now have our very first emote, which you don't even have to be subscribed to use. You can use the point system of Twitch to unlock this for 24 hours. And basically, if you just follow, you can already use it 3 times. Like 3 times 24 hours. So if you want to use that, you can definitely do that. They go, yeah, you're not a mod, so you can mostly. But anyways, as you guys can see, we have some guests. We have some guests here. So let's them introduce themselves. We're gonna start off with Vepsis, who just wanted to post a link but was refused.
What is up, my little Danos and the UBL fans? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Dragons, and this is gonna be exciting season for first Wi-Fi Gen 8 Draft League. And yeah, I tried to post a public website link from the UBL in itself, but it wasn't able to do so. AutoMatthic has to do that himself so he can showcase that to you all, and hopefully we get to also have a link for the tiers in itself, because we are going to be having months different prices as we go forward, so you can use that as a link to be able to follow the picks as we go forward.
Like I said, for that !UBL, click on the thing, everything will be there. All the coaches, all the links you need to the website, Twitter, Discord, YouTube, everything is there. So at one point, if you want to know !UBL, you'll get just everything. Just one comment. It's very easy. It's on the title, you don't forget. It's just one comment. But indeed, Vepsis is going to be in this draft stream. He's also going to be one of the coaches drafting, but we're going to go over that later. We're first going to introduce the second guest of today's stream, which is former UBL coach Irish Marolt.
Excuse you, right? If you're going to introduce me, you introduce me correctly. The greatest of all time, Irish Emerald. Alright, get it right, please, thank you. Right, if you're going to bring me into the next conversation. If it's not right, okay, I'm going to take over the stream. Because it's on your channel, but it's my stream. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to tell you all right here, right now, no spoilers. But Auto and Vepsis are scrubs, and neither are going to make playoffs. That's just it. That's the way it's going to be. And you're going to get these harsh, hot truths throughout this whole stream.
Okay, Boomer. Okay, Boomer.
Yeah,
sit down on the retired chair over there.
Indeed, let's not get too hasty here. But as you guys can see, today, Friday the 31st, we're going to have the Shield Division draft on my Twitch. And of course, we have the other draft for the Sword Division going live tomorrow on twitch.tv/SilverBeanie at 1 PM EST, so be sure to check that out as well, so you can see the other things. And indeed, we're talking about 2 divisions. Let's just go over the rules here real quick, which will be happening. First of all, Wednesday will be your upload day this week, so you don't have to be worried about a lot of leagues uploading in the weekend. We're doing that not this time. We're just uploading during the week, so you can have some league battles in the week as well. Draft recaps go live the 5th, battles the 12th, week 2, 19th, everything goes on from there onward. So every week on Wednesday, you'll get a UBL upload. And as we said, we will have 16 coaches, and they'll be split over 2 divisions, 8, each division with their own draft. So we're going to go over 8 people drafting here now, and the reason is we just have a very limited decks at this point. So in order to give everyone a good amount of Pokemon, we have 2 drafts going on right here. The schedule will also be very interesting. We will have a round-robin schedule per division, which means that you face only 7 people. You only face people in your division, and Vepsis was one of the people that came with that idea at first. I have like shorter seasons. I tested out in the EML Trophy, and I liked it. So can you tell a little bit about short seasons, why they're great?
So the bigger reasons why I think the shorter season is beneficial for every coach in Draft League format usually is that it kind of keeps the regular season games all meaningful throughout the season, and it gives more opening for more teams to be able to have a chance to play for playoff spot throughout the season, and that keeps everyone very engaged throughout the season. And it also makes it for spectators a little bit less, I guess, quote-unquote boring, in a sense that it doesn't drag out for too long throughout the regular season before we go into the playoffs. So 7 or 8 usually as weeks number, I feel like is pretty much the ideal number for any league to do. And those are kind of the bigger reasons for it. It benefits the coach around the league to have meaningful games throughout the season. I feel like for the fans in itself, it's also beneficial to not have too long of a season in itself to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one's looking forward to week 12.
Listen right here. These two, right, okay, being at Vince, decided that they were going to shorten the season because they know they won't make playoffs if it's a long-ass season. I'm telling you guys, right,
Easy
these
talking
two
for you.
scrubs are useless, right, okay? Don't listen to them. Let's carry on. Let's get the show on the road. Show the first pick.
Hold up, Irish. One more note. Actually, a few more notes here. We will be playing pre-home, so even though home comes out this month, you cannot use anything of that. So no default Hydreigon, no default Groudon, no knockoff Weavile, no hidden abilities and race, stuff like that. And battles will be on Wi-Fi with a 10-minute chess timer. Quickly on the screen, all the bands and the battle clauses are there. We're not going to go over them all too much. The only one I will get out of this is the Baton Pass clause. Because Baton Pass clause means we cannot pass any stats. That's the whole Baton Pass clause. And I think all the other clauses should be pretty self-explanatory along with the bands we have going on. If any one of those is not clear, let me know in the chat. I'm not going to go over them one by one, but if one of them is unclear, let me know and we can go on. And then the last thing before the first pick is of course the draft order. So we have 8 of our 16 teams. We have the New York Empoleons, we have the Duckletts, we have the Slovenia Slowbros, Pittsburgh Pirattatas, West Virginia Miniors, the New Jersey Brobats, Helsinki Hydreigons, and the Orlando Magikarps in this chat, or in this draft going on. So Vepsis is actually drafting himself here, so I'm now gonna see some things that he did. But without that, let's move to the very first pick here. What we're going to have for the New York Empoleons, and by no surprise to me, before we do that, here's how it turns with 10 rounds, we have 1,000 points. That's just a thing. It's a bot chest, you need to pick exactly 10 Pokemon. Okay, let's go. First pick, Galarian Darmanitan, the only Pokemon in the 200 price tag, is going to be here on the Empoleon side, which, I already told this in multiple videos, I would not be surprised if this thing ends up being banned over time.
Yeah.
This thing is so unoriginal. Like, could he not just pick something better? Like, this thing is boring. He should have came up with something like fun. Like, you know, I don't know, like Frostmoth. That would have been kind of interesting. Boring. Move on. This, like, right. I expected better from him.
Also, one thing to pick out here, why is Aegislash banned? Aegislash is banned because it was banned in last generation, and we kind of want to figure out the new meta first. And yes, Aegislash is nerfed, it lost some of its attack power, but that's not the reason it was broken. The reason it was broken was because it supported uncompetitive 50-50s. That's the reason it's still banned, and maybe it will change over time, but for now that ban will stick around, because of it's just an uncompetitive Pokemon. But moving on to the second pick, being Dragapult, going to Johnny here. 180 points. Overall, the reason this thing is amazing is, of course, Pursuit is gone. This thing is a Dragon type. This thing comes in, and this thing gives you not Elite Speed Tier, but Elite Speed Tier Plus in this metagame, which is really important. This thing can run Animator models almost every single week, which allows this thing to function, like, phenomenally.
Yeah, and there's like only 2 things right now in the decks that are actually faster than Dragapult naturally, and those are really mostly unmons. Axelgor is definitely a viable mon in Draft League format, as a hazard setter and in a fast pivot, but it cannot touch Dragapult naturally either, so it doesn't really matter in that sense for Dragapult. The other thing that can outspeed it is Ninias, that's a Ninias. So this thing basically should be every single matchup naturally the fastest mon on the roster from each side, and that's such a huge tool to have. And most of the weeks it can also run Modest or Adamant, because there aren't many mons that actually force it to necessary to run plus speed nature currently on the decks. I believe only Jolteon does that, and that's going to be only on one team. So Dragapult, while it has decent options for physical side, what it can run, and on a special side it has better, but it has only base 100 special attacks that thanks to its speed here it can be a lot more harder to deal with defensively wise, and Ghost Spam is literally one of the best type spams right now in this deck, like you said about the lack of pursuit right now.
Yeah, the only thing this thing suffers for is that it doesn't have a good physical ghost stab because it's a 2-turn move, but even having to deal with that goes to show how powerful this thing is. It's still one of the best Pokemon with that limitation. Also, no move to really break through fairies, but again, this thing is phenomenal still, and it goes to show how good it is. So, Irish, can you dig this one though? Like the Darmanitan was unoriginal, is this one unoriginal too?
That's hot trash.
Hot trash, alright. Then let's go to some actual hot trash here. We have DrSlaking going to Slovenia Slowbros and Marolt.
Hold on. This thing got Nasty Plot, this thing got Dragon Dance, it also got Hydro Pop, cause why the fuck not, man? This thing is a beast right now in this Galarian decks.
Man. It's try hard. It's just a try hard mon. That's all it is, you know. And this coach Marolt. Last time I saw him in the UBL, he drafted DrSlaking as well. He's too much of a coward to draft anything better than this thing, right? Okay. Move on. This is muck. Next pick.
I will say this has become some of a trend where this is always a third pick now, because people pick Darmanitan and Dragon Ball first, and then they just pick DrSlaking because it's the best left. But moving on to the next on top, and the Pittsburgh Pirattatas picking up Ferrothorn, so they're dipping all the way down to 140 already to secure Ferrothorn, and probably the reason is that they really want to use this, and this is probably not making it back to them. Because I don't think this will survive for round 2 for them.
Hold on. Are you serious? Someone really wants to use Ferrothorn in Draft League? Come on. Stop.
Man, Irish, get your hand out of Gen 7. Inner power's gone.
Stop it. Right, okay? You need to be a sad boy if you really want to use this in your Draft League. Stop it. You pick this when you have no other option to pick for a good steel type. That is the way it goes, right, okay? You need to be a sad boy. Living at home. It's
the second best steel type currently in the game.
Right, okay, you could have got something much better. No way. No chance, right? Get out of here.
There's a better one, but it's not going right now. I think it will go soon though. But we have the Ultra Player here and the West Virginia Miniors picking up Mew, which of course Mew did lose out on stuff as recovery, which is also why its price is lower than last season. And not necessarily because the reason, no recovery means bad, but no recovery means Mew cannot run as many sets as it usually can. It can still run a lot of things. It gets Toxic Spikes now for whatever reason, but it's less versatile now that it cannot use the defensive sets as well. But still a phenomenal threat in Draft League format, and looking what was left, this was probably still the best pick around currently.
Yeah, it was like literally one of the best or the best one available to pick, so no shame picking it at this point of the draft, being the 5th pick, I believe. And the speed tier base of 100 is a lot better speed tier than it used to be. And thanks to the fact that it already had access to Nasty Plot and all kind of setup moves, and now also having access to Dragon Dance and getting some other nice tools in hazards like you mentioned, Toxic Spikes and Spikes, its offensive roles became better for it, but due to the lack of recovery, at least for now pre-home, it's going to be kind of limited to be more of a offensive setup a win con or of a hazard stacking lead, which is mainly what's probably what we can expect out of Mew, and hopefully we don't have to worry about Fat Mew to be something that we cannot break as we go up against it.
I mean, Ultra Play is a good coach. He will probably try to get something out of it. Moving on to the next pick, being Rewt here with the Dracovish. So
here we go.
He went in.
Woo! That's the pick, guys. That's the pick right there.
Irish can appreciate the pick here. So we have
the pick came live, baby.
We have Rewt just sitting there and be like, okay, I need a breaker. Well, let's pick the best one available still yet. So we're having Dracovish going here, which of course has many options if you can build around, but even if you don't, Fish's Rant is just another thing.
Yeah, this thing basically forces teams to draft a water immunity, because if you don't have one, then it's gonna run choice, but it doesn't care about it. Like we just saw in WBE, Wolfie 2-shot a Flame Orb and Marvel's boosted my logic on the switching. So like bulky water types do not switching with this thing at all. So it just forces so much already on prep and drafting wise already to respect the thing. And at 140 points, it's relatively good mon to build around with and be able to save points for later round picks as well.
Then moving on to your own pick, and I can dig this one. We have the Golden Knight going here, which has a lot of potential, a lot of sets where, I mean, I don't think I'm wrong if I say that Golden Knight can, if you know what you're facing, can run a set that can pretty much 1v1 like 80% of the competition you will face at least.
Yeah, that's exactly why I felt like this is probably the best choice I could have gotten at this point to pick. And honestly, at 160 points, we were 2 of the 5 people that made these tiers for your own league, and which happened already weeks ago. But looking back on it, 160 points, Corviknight seems a little bit cheap. So I was really happy that I was able to scoop it up. And it's a new mon in this generation. I haven't got the chance to try it out. And I feel like in Galarian decks, pre-home, it's gonna shine really well in this format. And it's gonna give me a very good steel type right from the get-go.
What would you say to people who say that it's just a worse Skarmory?
No, it's way better. It's way better
it's
than
worse.
it.
No, hold on. This is a worse Skarmory. Stop. It's worse.
Iris,
It's worse.
Iris.
It's worse. You're here trying to justify this one as being good, right? I'll tell you 3 months in life, I'm going to forget about this Pokemon because it's trash.
You need to start looking into things that what this thing can do and watch people using it.
This thing could just about wipe its own arse, let alone do anything to the opposition team, right? Facts, right?
Alright.
No way. Right, you're just jealous because Rewt got Dracovish and you got nothing. Simple as.
Speaking of nothing.
This is not nothing, hold up. We have the Choicepecs in the Orlando Magic cards picking up Clefable in, well, probably the best fairy in the game currently, even without Unaware, which of course it cannot use. But this thing is very tricky, man. Also, as like this slower Magic card Life Orb Breaker, it does have a lot of potential with all the moves it gets, because it gets everything for no reason. It still can be that fat thing which people really struggle to break with. A lot of Pokemon using Knockoff. Now, Knockoff isn't necessarily good versus Clefable, but still getting rid of his lefties or getting rid of resistant barriers worked with that. Toxic, of course, doesn't really matter because most of the time it's Magic Guard anyways, but in a generation where removal is also limited, having Magic Guard is also not a bad idea going here for Clefable.
Yeah, like I love the way Joey always explains Clefable's uses throughout the generations. Like, Clefable always finds its way competitively wise to be valuable and like impactful mon, either in draft league format or in a standard play, and it's not gonna be any different this season either. And thanks to the fact that we don't have any like the mechanics of Dynamaxing or Gigamaxing around, and RBCC moves aren't around, so which definitely just benefits more like Clefable, which typically you look at its stats and you're like not too amazed by it, but once you start running some calcs with it and use it yourself, you're kind of amazed how well they actually work together for it to be a very hard thing to take down. And also the fact, unfortunately for it, it did lose Softball for now, so it does have to rely on Wish and Moonlight as form of recovery, but you can still manage that, and it's gonna be, like you said, probably the best fairy type in draft league.
Yeah, as like I said, we don't have Dynamax allowed, no Dynamax, no Gigantamax, so this thing is very hard to break. Currently, next Pokemon coming in here is Kamo-O, so he's really trying to secure his Dragon Fairy Steel type here, picking up his Dragon type. Now, I really enjoyed Kamo-O when I had it myself. I'm not sure if it's got any notable buffs this generation, but it's definitely one of the Pokemon like I said, I used myself. I definitely enjoyed it, both as an offensive role, but also a more defensive one with like Stealth Rocks, Drain Punch. It has natural good bulk, which makes it really fun to use that way. One thing to note though is that Clamorous skill is banned, so it cannot Omni Boost, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it would have definitely pumped its price to like, let's say 180 at least at that point, so no worries there that he got a 140 Kamo-O and be able to Omni Boost in itself. But Body Press is actually a pretty cool move on Kamo-O because it kind of allows it to be a stronger physical wall, to have a stronger fighting stat throughout that. So it was able to gain a good stab more for its more utility sets, but it's still able to be a setup threat. And he was able to secure 2 Stealth Rockers on his will pick, and you're gonna notice throughout the draft that viable stealth rockers aren't easy to get throughout the Galarian decks, especially pre-home. So that's something that I think was a huge benefit for him to make this kind of will pick.
Yeah, for sure.
Spoiler there. Big spoiler there.
But then, you're picking up the man here, the Conk, and I mean, I'm happy that I don't have to face you using this thing, because I really like Conkeldurr.
Skyrunner called and he wanted his pick back. That's all I'm getting from this. You know, he wants his Pokemon back. Because you guys, you clearly just robbed this guy, but you come up with something more original, please. Next round, you know, I want to see something better. I expect better from you, Vepsis. Much better.
I mean, this thing is great, though.
I will admit that Skyrander's run in the UBL D-League really opened my eyes on Conkeldurr, but that's not necessarily the sole reason why I picked it, that I tried to do something that he was able to do with it. It's more so about the fact that I look at the big threats right now in the Galarian decks that we have, and a lot of those things Conkeldurr can really help me to take them down, because a lot of them are weak to fighting, and it still has the priority Mach Punch on it, and it also gained Defog on it, so I have the best Defog on the table already on Conkeldurr, and we don't worry about the fact that Corviknight gets Defog. This is the better Defogger right here.
This is fast rush away.
Yeah, and it also gained close combat, which is really strong on coming out of this thing when it's guts boosted.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying like, oh, this thing lost knockoff, it's now so bad, but guys, honestly, Facade plus Drain Punch hits everything barring Ghost. Just have something for Ghost types and you're fine.
Yeah, and there aren't really that many good Ghost types that have also reliable recovery around at this point, so...
That's definitely true. Then moving on to Rewt again, picking up Cinderace, comparing them with Dracofish. And
There's my boy.
Yeah, that's what's getting
making
some...
the go pick again. Rewt, fucking hero. That's what I want to see,
I really love this. I really love Cinderace. Like, it has by far the best animation of a move in the game with Pyro Ball and Core Change in like again a generation or a meta currently where defog is not that widespread. Core Change is really cool to have around, and also gives this thing the lead speed here, which is also very great. Again, no hidden ability, but still this thing can do a lot of work here, I feel like.
Yeah, this was a power pick for Rewt to make, just to make sure that he always has a good thumbnail to go with, because he can put the Mr. Fish over there, or he can put Cinderace there with
hold on, right? Rewt doesn't pick Pokemon because it's a cool thumbnail, he picks Pokemon because he's a good player, unlike you two scrubs over there in the corner. Criticize this man, my boy! How dare you? You're there accusing looking for the views and the thumbs and the likes.
How does the playoffs go between me and you?
Get out of here, right? You what happened to your playoff from Vepsis? You lost, right? Okay, so deal with that tail and chuck it down your throat, right? Okay, and move on. My boy Rewt is a stand-up individual. How dare you besmirch his name on this stream? Disgraceful. Disgraceful.
Alright, after that Rose, we're gonna move on to Ultra Player here, who's gonna pick Manabus, which is of course a very good companion here for Mew as a Dark and Ghost resist, and alternatively, of course, the thing is, this thing is weak to Mew can chew a little bit here, but needs pressure else with mainly the defensive synergy. Like I said, the things that Mew is weak to, Manabus just eats them, like easily. And yeah, this is also one of the things that kept Defog, kept Toxic, kept Knockoff. And there's no other Pokemon that can say those three things together.
Yeah, so Bandibus, I think, like literally, it didn't need to gain anything. It was just able to keep the tools that it had on its arsenal to be better right now than it was by end of Generation 7. Like I'm big fan of this pick because really good Dark types are hard to always get. And it's no different with the Galarian decks currently, and getting a solid remover and a pivot for Mew, allowing it to be that setup threat in itself is really nice for him as well. And he has some momentum initiative with going with U-turn, and heavy duty boots as a new item are very common to see on Mandibus, be able to come in on Stealth Rocks for free and not having to take any residual damage from that. So I think Mandibus will be very spammable mono for Ultra Player to build around with throughout the season itself, and be a key factor for his defensive backbone.
For sure, and then going to a defensive backbone which Top is building here as well, because he's going to pair Ferrothorn with Rotom Wash, which this thing gives him very good synergy between the two of them from a defensive point of view. Still like some offense here, but again, the way they deal with each other's weaknesses is of course very great. Only need the fighting weakness, like a fighting resistance here, and you got your core ready.
Yeah, also I noticed that on the layout you have a mistake that Ferrothorn is 180, but both of these are 140 price monster in itself, and Top is just going with very standard, but knows what they are capable of with his experience of playing Traffic format for 2 generations by now at least, starting from GBA, and he knows what Roto-Was can do, and it also gained nasty plot, so it can function like any other Roto, a little bit more offensive thanks to that, but they were unfortunately losing now default campaign split until home comes out, so it's kind of give and take that is it better right now or is it worse, but they definitely go well together as always. Talking about Ferrothorn and
Right, this where's the offense, right? Okay, we don't come here to see defensive.
Hold on, we have 8 picks. Hold on.
I want to see some offense on the draft board. That's what I want to see. I came here for the big hits, the critical hits, right?
You're not getting it from more.
I don't want to see some iron defense body press shenanigans, right? Okay, I want to see some offense on Tub's team. That's what I want to see.
All right, well you're not getting offense yet because we have Sylveon.
Iris is just sleeping on Choice Bandit Ferrothorn. That's all I need to say. But
this thing needs to be specs every week according to Irish probably, but we have Sylveon being paired up with Hydreigon here.
This is
a core we knew,
Stop.
but...
Hold on. You guys, they're talking muck about Clefable earlier on. This mod is the best fairy type gold in Draft League, right? This mod can do everything. Choice Specs, Life Orb, Choice Scarf, Baton Pass, Hyper Voice, Wish, you name it, it can do it. This is the mod, right? Okay, it's about time Marolt took my wisdom and finally implanted it into his brain and picked something that I knew would work for him. And I'm pleased, Marolt, you listened, you reached out, and you've learned, and now that you've got a ball like this, you're no doubt going to take the office here.
Hey, you know that phone you dropped when Skyrender called Aliens or called Vepsis? I picked up the phone and now Gen 6 called. They want your opinion back.
Oh no, this mod is simply beautiful, majestic, magnificent, something you know nothing about Auto. Alright, okay,
See, even more bulk. There we go, we're not listening to Irish, we're gonna pick even more bulk here because we're gonna pair up Dragapult with Thechoicespecs. So, you know, Johnny is building himself here some annoying stuff to deal with, to say the least.
Yeah, well, there is one really nasty synergy that I see with
Toxic Spikes.
Yeah, Toxic Spikes plus Stab Hex coming from Dragapult. That's gonna be such a noxious combo together. And Dragapult's Ice and Fairy weaknesses really well covered with Toxapex. So this is really nasty combination to go along with. I'm not a fan of going up against this combination already.
He did spend the most points though. He spent the most points of all coaches so far.
Yeah, he has spent points on, but thankfully I would feel safe to say he spent them pretty well, considering what he was able to pair together. So, not biggest fan of using Toxapex myself, but I definitely see the synergy with his first pick, and it's gonna be annoying to face.
Alright, then going to our real pick here, which we have Galarian Darmanitan being paired up with Milotic. So this dude's actually not spending the most points here, because of course we need, you need to show you got the pockets. So we got Milotic here, which of course a good water type is very appreciated here. With the weaknesses of Darmanitan. So currently it looks like he's going for a more defensive backbone, currently alongside rather than an offensive one, but he still has a wheel pick, so maybe he will go maybe he'll go with an offensive one the next one, but I definitely can appreciate Milotic with Darmanitan here.
Yeah, he was able to basically pick up from the very slim pool of what are actual monsters that can check his first pick. Well, he was like, okay, I'm gonna take the Milotic because this is literally probably the best check to Galarian Darmanitan that we have available. So good on him. I'm not sure if that was necessarily his mindset, because Milotic is just a very stable mon for any team, and it's like similar to mons like Sylveon, Mandibles, and things like that we saw earlier, that they are very much worth to pick early on because you know you can bring them often, and they just sit there and they are very hard to kill, and they are just gonna provide something that most mons cannot do for your team.
For sure, and he's gonna pair that up with Dugtrio, which is a really interesting dynamic here because he now has a defensive Pokemon there, so he can switch in on his Darmanitan, and something to get rid of the other few things that can switch into Darmanitan. So I feel like on this team, I mostly don't like Dugtrio, but on this team it looks like he has a plan to go with it. So I think people will have some issues with this.
Yeah, I'm interested to see once the draft analysis do go up that what was his thought progress of picking that trio. But for me, it's mainly about like, okay, he picked the Milotic and now he picked up a Arena Trap Duck trio to kind of force elected types not be able to run any boosting item to be able to deal with Milotic that much better if they are affected by the Arena Trap in itself. Obviously, there are other ways to get around it, like Levitate as ability or being part flying type or having the Jetson item. Yeah, or a ghost typing naturally. So depending on the situation and the matchup, he's able to at least force to run those certain items. So Duck doesn't just come in and eliminate them, which some of those mons might be something that Milotic would, for example, appreciate that it's able to do.
For sure. Then okay, maybe Irish is happier about this thing. This thing can be offensive here. So we have a Rotom Heat being paired up with Thechoicespecs and Dragapult, which most likely again this gives another good status user here with T-Wave and Will-O-Wisp for the Hex set, which we already suggested, and also a way to get Dragapult in more freely.
Yeah, and like Rotom Heat, just for whatever reason, like what I've been following OU ladder in Galarian decks, trying to really engage that what mons really shine currently, and Rotom Heat has a climb on the ladder in itself, and I feel like that can be replicated to Draft League format to extend. And again, mentioning that Rotom forms did get access to Nasty Plot, which means Rotom Heat can be also offensive really well on its own, and like you said, it can support Dragapult with the Hex set. It also provides a crown immunity for the team and a little bit of Volt Turn Core along with it, Rotom Heat in itself and Dragapult. So very good pick. I think Rotom Heat is going to be a very solid mod throughout the season for him.
Alright, Irish, you joked about this one before, but here it is on screen, Frostmoth.
This again is Marolt. Another example of Marolt taking my knowledge and applying it and becoming better. This thing, just watch this Marlon's going to be dancing all over your corpses as he's just beating you into the ground one after the other, one after one until he gets to the final and eventually loses to my boy JBWestside. That's what's going to happen. This man is going to be dancing all over your graves with this Pokemon. That is the facts of life right there.
I'm actually afraid he's going to make this thing his next Rotom Fridge, which Rotom Fridge is total trash and he somehow did work with it.
Yeah, let's not forget about his UBL run where he was able to make Mega Bayonet work. So if there's a one coach in this draft that is able to make a random loyalty of price
hold on, this team, 20 points for this team. How is this team 20 points? This team can defog, can set up, can get the veil, all that kind of good stuff. And this team's only 20 points. Marlon, you're a connoisseur, my friend. You don't listen to these buffoons, right? Okay, this is an excellent pick. Excellent pick, my friend.
You know this thing is Dice to Rocks, right?
What's this new item called? You were the man giving out to me about going through the gens.
And now I click any move.
Heavy, what is it? Was it heavy duty boost? Is that what it's called? I believe it is. Heavy duty boost. So this thing's going to come in and watch it auto sweep your ass when it finally stays you. That's what's going to happen. It's going to sweep your ass.
It's going to try to talk smack
right now. 6-0 win.
I will say I'm down to see that happening, that Auto gets losing to a Frostmoth. So I get on Irish side on this one. I'm really probably gonna do this throughout the stream, but
alright. We're gonna see. Well, here's your offense on the team for top Irish. We have Salazzle being paired up here. So we have a Fire, Water, Grass core here, Ferrothorn, Rotom, Wash, and Salazzle, which I definitely dig it. I think that Salazzle losing out Hill Power Grass is a bit unfortunate. But if you're able to get rid of those ground types and those water types, Salazzle can definitely shine late game. Very good speed here, way to boost the speed. Nasty Plot scary, Corrosion is still really scary, especially Toxic is way less spread here, so I'm digging this one.
Yeah, like Toxic is like a lot less given right now for whatever reason, so pure poison types usually get access to it, and they are also able to always land them, and Corrosion ability also provides it, of course, to be able to toxic anything no matter what, regardless of their typing. And this thing, thanks to that ability, is basically able to 1v1 almost any single mon out there that normally would try to counter it in itself, and it's a phenomenal speed here in Galarian decks and access to, again, to Nasty Plot, and its dual stab is very hard to switch into as well. And it's gonna be very obnoxious mon. You kind of always leave on it when you see it drafted, but when you have to go up against it, it's a lot more annoying than you at first give it credit for.
Alright, you happy with this Irish?
Fine pick. Used it before. You know, not an original because I used it before, but it's good. Yeah.
Alright, now talk about Mimikyu.
You just pass Mimikyu and just say it's a bad pick and we'll go again.
Bold?
Counts. Does that count as a discussion? Because this is just a bad pick and we can just say, yeah.
There is worth to mention that its ability got a little bit nerfed regards to the fact that once the disguise is busted, it loses like 1/8 of its health, I believe. So around like 12% basically. So it's gonna reduce its effectiveness that way. I think it's more so about for the doubles focus assets that the nerf was made into play. So I'm not sure how much it actually influences it in draft league format, but that's something to note going forward, which we weren't used to see from Mimikyu. But it still basically does the same thing, and not having access to Seamos anymore is kind of forcing it to probably on life for most of the weeks to have good enough damage output. But interested to see how well UltraPlayer can use it, because I feel like round 3 Mimikyu, for me at least, felt a little bit too early to pick it. If
That's
I
a
were
crap
him.
pick. It's a crap pick, guys. Let's just call it what it is and move on. It's a crap pick.
Alright, here's your Rewt picking up Togekiss though, without...
That's my boy Rewt. That's a fairy. That's a fairy right there. Why would you pick Mimikyu when this thing is on the board, ladies and gentlemen? That is a pick right there. My boy Rewt, once again, doing what he does best. That draft badass team is going to be doing well this year. That's what it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is what it is right there.
Alright, so you don't mind this thing losing default Gamarus?
This thing, right, okay, does not need defaults to do well. This thing just walks in, graceful, air slashes the hell out of you, and walks back out again. That's how it wins matches, and that's the way Rewt is going to win matches. Go to air slash the hell out of you, bring in Dracovish, fishiest friend, GG, get out of here, job done. That's the way it's going to happen.
Alright, I guess. Then moving on to a pick I really like here, because I really appreciate the Toad here.
Yeah, I'll just pick Seismitoad at this point, because again, I saw that Dracovish being picked, so I knew immediately that I want some sort of water immunity on my team, and I feel like Seismitoad might be the best one in the business for that. And also, I did mention earlier, when we see some Stealth Rockers being picked, we don't have too many of them that are considered viable, and Seismitoad, throughout this generation early on, at least on standard play, has proven to be one of the best Stealth Rockers, and I believe it can be that in traffic format as well. And they provide me 2 imponent typings in water and ground as well, and it didn't actually lose toxic either, which is also really huge plus for this thing compared to some other mons that did lose it and will miss having it on their movesets going forward.
Does it still get refresh?
It doesn't get refreshed, but I think that's a move that a lot of mons did lose in general. So.
Alright. Yeah, that's
this
fair.
is a booty pick anyways. This
it's
is rubbish,
still...
right? And I'll tell you why, okay? Because Vepsis always drafts this Pokemon, right? And he cannot live and he cannot function without Seismitoad.
This is...
You can't live without this Pokemon, right? You can't do anything. You must have Seismitoad on your team if you want to do well in playoffs. That's how much of a scrub you are. If you don't have Seismitoad, you're rubbish, right? You're only half the player you are. And that is it. You know what? Drop it. I dare you. Drop this thing and prove me wrong. That's what I'm going to tell you to do. Drop this thing, get another water type, and prove me wrong.
This is the Sylveon for you, basically, for me, base.
Oh, no, I don't always use Sylveon. Alright, I just use it sparingly. You always.
Sparingly.
Always.
I remember you always, except one time you didn't have it. And then the one time you didn't have Sylveon, you retired.
Hold on, sorry now. I went out on a win, excuse you, so let's get this match right. And secondly, I, as you just said, did not always use it, but you always use this. So, you know, I think you're trying to skew the facts there to hide your own scrubbiness, right? Get in the shower and wash yourself off, son.
Alright. Then we've gone to a pick I can definitely appreciate here. Arcanine going to the Orlando Magic Craft, which Arcanine got play rough and close combat in this generation. A little toxic though, but 2 offensive things it gets added to its move pool here.
Yeah, and like solid fire types are hard to come by. Like we did lose good bunch of them, and just still having access to reliable recovery is also a big factor, because that's another factor that a lot of other defensive mons did lose to, and it still has a good speed tier. It's better this generation in base 95. Also provides some priority for his team, and it's also very good fairy check for Komoro as well on paper-wise. So it's a mod that, again, similar to Milotic, similar to Mandibles and these other more bulkier mods that we know are good and reliable, and that's basically what it's probably gonna be for the most part for the around the Magikarps as well. And hopefully we just get to see more offensive Arcanine, because that's usually that we don't tend to see too often, even though it has the tools now. Now, like you said, even better ones with the new moves that it gets access to.
And he's gonna pair it up with Polteageist, so some special break.
There we go. There's a pick. Woo! Love that one. Shell smash all over them bitches. I love it. There we go. That's the one.
And to make it
Pick,
worse,
baby.
this thing also gets Strength Sap apparently.
Yeah, and like ghost types are just really phenomenal right now. So
Broken.
yeah, this might be like third best ghost type right now. We have Dragapult, we have Gengar, and then it's probably this thing. And
Dragapult doesn't count because that's an on mod. All right, so we don't count that.
Also, can we talk about the fact I finished round 4 and Extra Drill still on board?
Yeah, it kind of happened. I noticed it myself too. That was like one of the picks that I considered round 1, and we are still sitting here and it's still available, and I'm kind of like...
And you're picking your toes, man, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm not picking it because I already have Corviknight. And it's gonna be spending a lot of points on it if I go with the extra 2 as well. But I had another mod. I have another mod in my side that I figured is gonna be very good to pick right now, because it provides me 2 key typings right from the get-go. Because there were other fairy type, there was another dark type that I was looking on right now, but I wasn't too sure that if I'm able to get both. So I figured that why not get them in one in Grimmsnarl. And Grimmsnarl is just fairy and dark is such a unique typing for itself, and it's a PV evolution line. Prankster is a phenomenal ability. It has setup options, it has Sucker Punch for priority, it has a phenomenal move pool for whatever reason, able to hit even steel types with Fire Punch, for example. So I think this mod is gonna be really good in Draft League format, one of the better fairy types as well, and it's gonna be interesting to see that how it's gonna be able to perform throughout this season.
Definitely interesting to see, because most of the time you see this thing on Smogon or something, it's just, or on Battle Spot, just screens, Thunderwave, Prankster stuff, but this thing has some offensive potential, even without Dynamaxing.
Yeah, it can still use those same moves, but thanks to in Draft League format, you can really design it to do a lot of different things that we haven't even used to see, and that's something that I'm really excited about, potentially get to use this thing right now in Draft League.
Alright, then moving on to Rewt, which its number 1 fan is in this card.
There you go. Look at this pick.
Duradon.
Look at this pick. And you know what I'm gonna do? This pick, right? Vepsis, you should have picked this, but you're just a wash sweat. That's all you are. You should have picked this Steel Dragon type up. And the fact that you did it just shows how useless you've become. How fallen you have fallen, my friend. You're down. Bottom of the barrel was my boy Rewt saw what was there and said, boom, I'm taking up that Steel Dragon type. And I'm going to be rocking out with my Steel Fairy Dragon core with Draco Fish coming in and causing the havoc. And that's the way it's going to be. That's the bottom line, baby.
This team is offensive as heck, though.
Yeah, and I feel like Duraludon was like none of those mons that early on I kind of slept on it at first on paper, but now having to prepare for it and seeing it at 100 points is definitely a good value pick for him, and it gave him Stealth Rocks and just a solid speed here to hit on between the Togekiss and the Cinderace for now in 85 speed here as well. So he has a very offensive draft, but they are very tough to really deal with together, and he hasn't really spent too much points here. I feel like every single pick he has picked, he has really tried to find good value out of each of the mons he has thus far.
Because he's the GOAT here, Vepsis, not you. Rewt is, he's the GOAT.
Speaking of Pokemon you undervalued a little bit yourself as well, we have Inteleon here, which you around really like, and I definitely want to give this thing a try too in this generation.
Yeah, like I love its speed here at 120. It's like it's literally elite speed here, and it does struggle with bulky water types, but that's just something that you can patch up later on with your other members in your draft. It still has a phenomenal special attack stat of 125, which is insane, and it still is able to U-turn out on those bulky water types, so it doesn't really lose you momentum if you feel like there's a one thing that can check it well. And at 100 price tag and giving that speed here is, I feel like it's a solid pick in itself, and I have used dual screens as well with this thing, and it can be a solid supportive
even
member if it's not offensive. Yeah, even safeguard for just the safety measures if you really need that too is on its arsenal. So I think it's a solid mon to utilize for his team. I'm kind of interested to see how he's able to kind of help it out with dealing with bulky water types later on, but he has several picks to do so.
And then moving on to the top here, which is going to drive more offensive stuff here. So, also well read that he's going to try and complete his Fairy Dragon Steel Core 2 and in God of War to this one, which I've always been a really great fan of God of War here. Also the regular form, not only its Mega. And I really feel like even as a Spadaf Pokemon, but also for some utility offensive wise, this thing can be really tricky to deal with if you know how to prep with it.
Yeah, and like traceability is just phenomenal because you can potentially trace opposing regenerators, so it all facing a potentially a weather team, and you can run choice scarf on it and be able to have speed control over those kind of builds or versus those kind of traps. So Gardevoir, thanks to that ability, I think it gives a lot of cool tools to work with. And this move pool, similar to its Mega Evolution, always has been nice, and I believe Teleport on its arsenal provides him as a form of momentum as well, thanks to how that mechanic changed from previous generations. So interested to see if Top is gonna be using that throughout this season to keep up the momentum along with sort of was what he also has for that option.
I have to say that the fun thing about Hobson going on right now, because for people who haven't realized it yet, is that there are way more physical attackers in this generation than special attackers. And he secured himself 2 very good special breakers in Celeste and God of War. So it's going to be interesting to see how people will handle with that. But Art, are you happy yet for the offensive pressure that we are adding here or not? Coming together.
Right. He's got a few more picks maybe to do, but it's nowhere near on Root's level.
There it is, finally! Round 4, Excadrill going to the Slovenia Slowbros.
There we go. It existed in our draft pool. For whatever reason, it went round 4.
There you go. How do you pick Frostmoth first, though?
I mean, he got both.
Whoa, hold on. How dare you, right? We've been over this. Frostmoth was the gold pick.
You're not picking Frostmoth over Excadrill.
You scrubs, letting this thing go back to him, right? You guys should be questioning your own sanity rather than his sanity. This man looks like a genius now because of your inadequacy, right? Ineptitude. This man, Marolt. Brilliant stuff, man. Genius.
Alright, then going on to the Duckletts here, adding Hadoran to this team, which Hadoran is a really interesting fairy type. Definitely is one of those things that can set its own trick room and abuse it, but the rest of his team doesn't really look like a trick room team here, but in general it's a good Spadaf Pokemon here, so he might just want to use it in that role, but or do you guys think he's gonna have some trick room on sleep later on though?
I feel like this is just a mod that I feel like seeing that what fairy types were taken thus far throughout the draft, I feel like this was just a fairy type that he wanted the most. And Hadrini at 120 points is definitely a good value. There's a case to be made that it can be even 140, depending on how it's been able to perform. And it's just looking at this draft, I'm like, I have seen some Gen 8 OU throughout this time that we have been able to play it, and all of these mons are very valuable in that ladder. So I feel like this coach is pretty well set on that, okay, these mons definitely have proved themselves in standard play and believes that they can also perform in draft league format. And I think they definitely can together work pretty well. And Hadrini is very threatening with Trick Room setup. It can be a very solid Assault Vest user. It can Calm Mind and use Training Keys, making it almost unkillable. Thanks to be able to gain so much HP from that. So it's a very tough fairy type to deal with. Them Psychic and Fairy just together as a stabs are just very hard to deal with. And it also gets Mystical Fire for steel types.
No, ladies and gentlemen, what he has neglected to tell you, right, is that he has to say all these things because he told Frosted in another league to draft this round 1. So he actually has to tell you this so that she does not think that he screwed her over. So don't believe a word he said because he's paid to say those things.
We hear some stocks going on here, but going to the next one, we have Bronzong, one of the only good steel type left here, going to the New York Empoleon. So I definitely think that's a lot of value they got out of round 4. Got the second Stealth Rock user. This thing does have some good synergy with stuff as Milotic and other things like that. But again, you want that Steel type, and I definitely think that he stretched a little bit here for round 4, but he got it.
Yeah, and like Bronzong is commonly now started to seem to go a lot earlier thanks to the fact that, or I guess due to the fact that we don't have as many Steel types available to us, and it did lose Toxic, it did lose Psywave, and it lost some other niche moves that it was able to utilize, but it's still very splashable mono for being able to
body
bring
press.
Yeah, well, I guess it gets body press, which it can benefit with if it's running physical defensive set or iron defense on its own. So it's a solid pick. Like it's not gonna usually disappoint because you know what you're getting out of it, and at 100 points, it's definitely fair to pick at this point. And if you want to have it as your Steel type, this is probably the time to pick it.
Yeah, and again, this is one of the better Steel types left, because there are not really that many good Steel types in this game, but he's actually going to pair it up with Galvantula, so he's going to add webs to his Galarian or Manatan here.
Yeah, and that might give him opening to run Choice Bandit set, and thanks to the fact that Gorilla Tactics already gave it like building Choice Bandit, and if you can add one throughout the item as well, nothing is switching into it. Even if it says resisted hit, like you don't believe that text on the game in itself, because it's doing like 60% at that point with Icicle crashes and such. So this is a very solid pick for him to provide that aspect for his team if he wants to bring sticky webs. And it's something that can also kill opposing bulky water types that he doesn't really deal with too well prior to this pick either.
Yeah, that's true, but like I said, this thing, if our Mantan can really run focus, or really run Choice Band, U-turn is about to two-shot things. That's no...
Yeah, it's gonna hurt every single time. Like, whatever is dedicated to switch into it is not gonna take those too well for too long. So it's definitely gonna it's a very threatening combo to say the least.
And this is
Yeah,
what I
I told
also...
you, it's trash. It's trash. You know, you don't need to think it like it.
This also goes to show that my previous statement is kind of true, because we already see people dipping into the 40-point Pokemon like Steelix to get themselves a Steel type. That's how fast the Steel types are going and how little Steel types we have in this format. But Steelix is now popping up in round 5, going to the Duckletts over here, which I guess a good thing for them is, of course, this thing is a pretty nasty core Toxapex. And also, of course, gets Stealth Strike, which the team currently didn't have.
Yeah, the team has spent a good amount of points on the first 2 picks, and the following 2 weren't exactly cheap either. So this is a definitely good value pick to be able to kind of manage his points for his second half of the draft. And Steelix, I think, as a 40 points can be considered even a steal, because I feel like it can be like 60 points, especially considering the competition with reliable Steel types that we have available. And it's looking really solid starting point for his draft, and he provided some more hazards, like you said, with Stealth Rocks, and already having T-Spikes from Toxapex. So the team is looking very solid thus far. I feel like the biggest thing that he needs to is filling some speed tier gaps that he right now has. He has very slow mons, and then he has the fastest mon essentially in the game, and then Rotom is sitting there somewhere dead middle.
Yeah, but we still have 5 more picks to go, so...
Yeah, typing wise, he's covered a lot of things. It's just speed tier gaps are basically probably the next thing that he needs to start doing.
Alright, then it's probably back over to Irish here, because we need the fanboys for the Slowbros coming in. Because we have Chandelure, which again, ghost types are busted in this generation.
Is a pick, as the chat is saying. This is a pick, and this team is looking well, man. Looking well. Look at that, Hydreigon, Chandelure, bit of synergy, Sylveon there. He's got extra as a speed, as a Steel type, Ground type. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Get a bit of speed on this team now. And woohoo! Beautiful. Beautiful.
Definitely. Then moving on to top here, going with his Dragon type of choice in Flygon. Of course, a lot of Dragon types are gone. But
listen here now. I'm gonna cut across you right here, right? I see you in the chat. I see you talking back here now, boy. Right? Listen here, right? You're blessed. Lucky, right? You should be thanking God I am not playing this season, right? You should be so thankful that I am retired, and all I'm doing is sitting up here talking, right? Okay, because if I was down there in the depths of this draft, I won't be just catching your hands, I'd be smacking you around with your own fists, son. So if you want some of this, right? You make playoffs, and then you and me, one-on-one, we'll do it. We will do it, and we'll see who the better man is then.
All right. regards to the Flygon, at least he was able to finish his core, providing him a ground type, a good speed tier of base 100, which is rare right now to have. And while it lost default currently, and that's something that he still needs to patch, it's still a Flygon. I think, like Choice Cup said, it's still very valuable to utilize this generation. I have seen like OPJellicent a few times using it on a ladder as well, being pretty efficient with it. So hopefully Top can do the same thing, and it's just another mon that he has seen used throughout the previous 2 generations. So he definitely knows what he's getting out of this mon, and hopefully it's gonna do well for him. I'm not the biggest fan of Flygon, but I can respect that what he can do.
It's everyone one of the more annoying ones to face, but then going on to the West Virginia Miniors here, picking up Serena, which of course is going to take some defog pressure away from Mandibus here, and also, you know, the grass type here that's going to be paired with the water type Intalion. And overall, I think this thing, even offensively, has a lot of potential in this generation with defog boost, or with rep spin boosting and speed stat, of course, Queenie Majesty preventing priority. So as a round 5 pick, I think this is a really solid one going over here to Ultra Player.
Yeah. And I feel like UltraPlayer is high on the fact that he can have like a momentum-based team. I feel like he is the type of player that can really benefit from that when he has the options. And right now, barring Mimikyu, every single mon on his team, I believe, has some sort of momentum option. And like we said earlier about the Inteleon struggle with bulky water types, and which you briefly touched on, it definitely goes well with the Inteleon pick, what he did earlier as well.
I think he's screwed. I actually think he's screwed. I don't see him doing well at all this season based off what I've seen. He's screwed. Mew has to do all the heavy lifting, and we all know when Mew has to do the heavy lifting, it never shines well. He's relying on Mandibus to do an awful lot of defensive work. Mimikyu, we know, is not that much of an offensive threat this gen. Inteleon does not have the move pool as deep as we would have liked compared to Greninja, and T-Serena is too slow, and even though it's like nice, it's not going to be able to do as much work as you'd want around 5-2. I think in the long term, Ultraplayer's got 360 points to actually deal with. He's kind of screwed. He's not going to be able to get enough value over 5 picks, over 360 points to be able to really fully flesh out this team. I say losing record. Forget about this guy for playoffs. He's washed.
Maybe we should, introduce a rule here where Irish cannot trash talk someone that's finished in a round in playoffs where he hasn't gone yet, because he has yet to make semifinals in the UBL. And Ultra Player has made that.
I feel like there are only 2 people able to make in playoffs in our pool, based on what Irish been saying. Like almost everyone is not gonna make playoffs. Like who is actually making to the playoffs? Who is
gonna make playoffs, baby? Rewt is gonna be making playoffs. That's what I've been saying. Listen to me, man.
All right.
Rewt is gonna be making playoffs.
Then here's Rewt for you with Silvally being here to the team, which gives you some pivoting
options.
options.
There we go. See, this man building a team. This man's building a roster. Right? That's what you want, right? You're saying who's going to be making playoffs. This man's going to be making playoffs. That is a pick. Right there.
Also kind of
and
fun
he's got 400 points. That's what he's got.
He already has 2 Pokemon lost defog though.
Yeah, but to be fair, Silvally did get better thanks to the fact that multi-attack is now 120 base power compared to 90, which is huge for it. Huge for it, because barring normal type, it always has to run memory as its item, so it cannot benefit ever like boosting items. So just having this stab move in itself to be 120 right from the get-go is huge. And again, speed tier of 95 is a lot better this gen than previous. So I actually do like this pick for him, and again, being able to be any type can be a huge benefit for him in any matchup to try to figure out like, okay, what Silvally can provide me to help me going forward here. And parting shots might be something that gives Togekiss more chances to be a setup threat, but here's a power pick, Iris. Now Iris
this is rubbish. This is rubbish. Where's the belly drum? Where's the extreme speed? It's left behind in Hoenn. That's where that is, right? This is rubbish. This is rubbish.
Who needs that when you have Guts boosted facade and you actually have a knockoff?
You don't have the speed, man. You don't have that speed. That's what you need. And speed kills.
Dude is an actual beast at a content. You're gonna see throughout the season.
Don't be reading off the chat. Don't be reading off the chat. Come up with your own original shit, will you? Don't be reading the chat and looking for inspiration. You come up with your own line.
I have to support that one of your own, I guess, fans or your friend is actually on me with this pick and actually agreeing with me, whereas you cannot see it yourself. And obstacle throughout the season.
He knows deep down I'm right and you're wrong, right? That's all he's doing. He's just trying to feed your ego because he knows you're taking a battering tonight. That's all he's doing.
I mean, the only thing is, don't you think that Conkelder with Obstagoon is a bit on the same side here, or do you think they actually complement each other?
I feel like they complement each other because they're gonna be able to pressure similar things, and I feel like they can overwhelm similar physical walls because there's no way they can really deal both of them combined unless they are like Milotic with like normal scale and a flame orb holding into it. Like there are many few things that can deal with both of them on a same week, on same battle.
And then going to the wheel, we have Pelipper going. So are we going to potentially see a Rancor in the make here as well, going to the Magikarps? Let's actually just jump straight to round 6, which is actually going to be yes is the answer to that question. We're going to have Dreadnought here. So for 120 points, they're picking themselves up some rain threats over here.
Yeah, this is interesting considering, like, I don't mind picking Rain at middle half of the draft because it's definitely a valuable asset to add into a draft, especially in the Galarian decks, because we have so limited mons that we can pick from, and power creep is nerfed, so you kind of have to pick and choose that, okay, where can I add my offense, and he's able to provide that through the Rain. The only thing that I question about is that he picked Arcanine so early in round 3, so what made him set his mind to pick Rain with it, whereas they don't really synergize together in that front. But maybe he's planning to use Arcanine and Rain very differently, and he doesn't see it as a bad thing to have both on his team.
Alright, we will see how that turns out. And going back to you, you finally got this thing. I know you wanted this for a very long time.
Yeah, yeah, so talking about the Grimmsnarl earlier, I was really worried about getting my Fairy type and the Dark type that I wanted, and Obstagoon and Galarian Weezing were both that I wanted in round 4, but I wasn't sure that I could get both, but somehow I was able to do that, and I was like, you know what, I know I have Grimmsnarl, but I have to do it. I want to use Galarian Weezing in Traffic format. I think it's so cool with all of its ability, its move pool, giving me D4, giving me Toxic Spikes with Corviknight is fantastic for me, and it goes so well with Obstagoon's quad weakness to fighting. I add a quad resist to it on my team since I didn't have any fighting resist that thus far, since Grimmsnarl cannot resist that. So while I'm adding duplicate typings, it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing, because I'm definitely used to have. I'm used to having double darks. I had it last season as well, and it did go fairly well for me to have them. So I'm not too worried about that aspect.
Sorry, did you win last season?
No, I lost to Sasso.
Oh, well then, sorry, let's move on. You didn't win.
Yeah. I lost to goddamn Sasso building a team for OPJellicent, which was fantastic.
Sorry, you lost. Let's move on. Thank you.
Alright,
Okay, Boomer.
Irish clearly wants to go to his favorite coach of the draft here, picking Rotom Heat going to the New Jersey Brobats, so he's adding himself some more pivoting options here.
Great pick. This man now knows that he just needs to pivot into Draco Pitch.
It's a good pick.
Rewt is just playing with a gold draft right now, okay? And you're just jealous, Otto, that you did not think of this magnificent plan before you. And I can still tell Vepsis is nip that he did not pick Geraldon before Rewt did, right? Okay, because he could have. So I'm just telling you.
I will say this. No, I feel like this was actually a moment that I had my eyes on, but I wasn't ready to pull the trigger yet. But once it went, I was like, Rewt knew it. Like, Rotom is actually really good right now in this generation. I feel like at 80 points, it's a really good value pick. And for his first 2 picks being Dracovish and Cinderace, granted, Dracovish can beat bulky water touch like we said, or what I mentioned about the Choice Bandit set, but Cinderace definitely benefits for Rotom to have on its team as well. And again, having access to Nasty Plot makes Rotom a very threatening mon on his team. The only thing that I worry about is right now he only has a control through Cinderace, but maybe he's able to add some of those later on with his final 4 picks.
A third one that lost default on his roster.
Yeah, but in the end, there are still solid mons. It's just a matter of trying to figure those out later on his other picks.
The next pick is going to be Passimian here, which is going to add some more physical breaking power here to the West Virginia Miniors, which I definitely appreciate this thing going here. Fighting types, of course, really important to break through those normal types here, which Mimikyu might struggle with a little bit here. Gives him a good Choice Scarf option as well on his team, because currently his team didn't have the greatest Choice Scarf users here going on, so I definitely think this is one that makes sense, and also something for it has Defiant, so if you want to go and defog away hazards being set, or if you do want to set the sticky webs, like for example Goldoa has going on, Simian can be something to watch out for. Or even Intimidate from Arcanine, which is also drafted.
Yeah, and this is one of the few mods that was able to keep Knockoff, which is huge, because we don't have many mods in period, even dark types that don't have access to it. So having a fighting type that has access to Knockoff is huge plus, and again, another mod that has access to momentum. So UltraPlayer definitely seems to be a player that really feels comfortable when he has those options. It's interesting to see how the team pans out, because I don't see like typical calls that you see like, okay, those monsters go really well together. Like he has Mew, he has Mandibles, which are solid monsters, they do their things. Intellion, Serena sort of have their little call going on, but it's like he's picking monsters kind of left, right, and between, and interesting to see how it like unfolds and what is the thing that makes it tick as a whole, as a draft in itself.
Maybe still 4 picks left, so maybe we'll see it with then, but again, more offense, so Irish, at one point you do have to admit this thing has offense. We're gonna have our Lucha going to the Pittsburgh Pirattatas.
It's a step, it's what's it called, it's a step in the right direction, but...
Step in the right
He
direction.
ain't gonna beat me with this team, I'll tell you that right, that's a fact!
You're saying it's 2 defensive, he picks 4 offensive Pokemon in a row, and you're still being like, yeah, that's a good
He
step.
ain't beating me with this booty ass squad, and that's
Well,
a
you
fact.
currently have no squad, so he's definitely beating you. On to the next one here, which is gonna be Marolt, which of course gonna add some Gigalith Sand here to his extra drill, which he got in round 4 for some reason. And he's gonna pick a lower tier Sand Setter to go along with that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Again, Marolt is just building magnificently. It's gonna be Marolt and Rewt that's gonna clean house in this division. I just tell this team is insane. Look at that speed that he's got now with the Sand Rush. Beautiful.
I will say that, because Vepsis said before, like, who are gonna make playoffs? The playoff rules are actually more strict this season, since we have only going 3 teams in the playoffs per division instead of 4. So Irish has his 2, he just needs 1 more.
and it ain't gonna be Vepsis, and that's a fact right there. He's a washed up loser.
Watch the one that is retired, it's not coming back.
Oh man, hey, listen, right, if Trump makes playoffs, right, it'll be me and him in the championship round. That's what's going to be happening.
Alright,
Come out of retirement like Professor Oak back in the day.
So you need a skip to make the playoffs yourself. Is that what we are hearing?
Who's saying he's a skip?
You.
Ooh. Alright. Not just me hating on him, though. Not just me hating on him. Fine, alright, okay. Let's see how it is.
Anyways, the final starter of the 3 going, Rillaboom here, you know, the monkey.
Yeah, I guess this kind of fills a speed tier gap, even though they are very close between Rotom Heat and Rillaboom. I believe they only have 1 base speed difference, but it gives him a grass type, so it kind of gives him that standard code to be finished. He was able to finish all the standard codes, I think, by now with this pick. So kudos for him for doing that, and it gives him a physical breaker if he runs like a Choice Bandit set, which he didn't have too much physical offense thus far. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I like about it. Hopefully he's able to again fulfill what some of the speed tier gaps that might be a thing, but honestly thus far like his draft is looking really solid to me, honestly.
Now moving on to the real pick here for GoldoaDragon, starting off with Steerfast here, picking up that stick, that leaf. It doesn't even fit on the on the sheet here, as you guys can see. It goes all the way to the top. This thing is about to come in and click some buttons, and honestly, this thing hits hard. It's just the fact that it's slow and not bulky.
Yeah, but it has the big league energy going on, so you don't really switching to that thing. Thanks to the fact that he also has scrappy ability, which is insane for a fighting type that has close combat on its also, or like 135 attacks that I think, which is pretty insane. And it also gets knockoff as well. It actually gives him a defogger for his team, which is interesting that this is his first form of remover when he already has Galarian Darmanitan as his first pick, but definitely a very solid mon at 80 points. I feel like it's a solid value for it. There could have been an argument maybe make it like a 100-point mon in itself, but interesting to see how he's able to use it. But it's a very solid fighting type. I'm really excited to see how it's gonna perform.
It's gonna be paired up with Galarian Mr. Mime, so more removal here though.
He didn't pick the evolved one, so I don't like it as much. And it's also the ice type, so I'm interesting to see. I think I watched one of his draft recaps where he was trying to get this mode for another draft, so maybe he really just wanted to give it a go, and kinda despite the fact that he already had an ice type. But it's another remover. Rapid spin is always nice to have. It gives you the nice bit speed buff. It also gets access to nasty blood, good speed here at base 100 as well.
Does this thing also get screen cleaner, or is that only Mr. Rhyme?
No, they both get the ability, so
right, nice.
Screens are already a little bit more hesitant to be run versus him when he has the ability that just completely removes them. But interesting to see, maybe this was more so the fact that he wanted to use it, or it was just getting as many removers as possible to have options going forward in that regard.
Then, not gonna remove any further, we're gonna have a second water type. So this is also something you see a lot on DraftList where people are picking a defensive water type and an offensive water type. And also some, I mean, I guess this is speed, but still not a gap fill, but we have their Squala here.
That's a pig. How is this thing only worth 100 points is beyond me. The elite speed, the high attack stat, its coverage is okay enough for it to do enough work and be able to like get big hits off. You just need to slap a choice band on this thing and it's going to do work. I think this is a great pick. How?
I mean, he saw Pelipper being drafted and he was like, I need to face that.
I should have got this thing last round and said, look, I need offense. Boom, give me this thing and let me just start smacking some fools. He should have drafted this yoke. But no, he did not. And Johnny, it's a good pick, man. It's a good pick. I like it. I like it.
Alright, then going for the grass. This is actually a pick I really like, because he didn't have the ground and poison type yet, he had no grass type yet, and he's picking up Roserade here. Or Roserade, rather, the correct pronunciation here, but this thing is definitely a very good addition. Great speed tier in this generation. Did lose out on Technician in the power though, but again, this thing already has the power and a decent SPDF stat to go along with Spikes and Toxic Spikes.
Yeah, the only like being nitpicky about like anti-synergy is that it relies on synthesis as a main form of recovery, but it does have natural cure plus rest, so he can use that if he wants to, or just lead seed plus black slug as an item. So it's not necessarily too bad for him, and it gives him something that can beat down bulky fairy types for Hydreigon, something to beat down bulky water types for Exodude. So the synergy is definitely there, and as long as he can kind of work around the Sand factor that is primary there with Gigalith and Exodude, and how it's going to be hurting Roserade synthesis, as long as he can play around that properly, he should be good to go. And Roserade still is a phenomenal hazard setter and offensive threat on its own, as long as he gets through those steel types.
Sure.
Marolt, baby, give me some speed next round, man. That's all I'm looking for. Give me some speed, baby. That's what I'm looking for next round.
Well, here's some speed though to the Pirattatas, which Chinchino, and I definitely appreciate Chinchino. I definitely think it's Pokemon can do work here. Really, I mean, it has a good speed tier now. It's really hard for people to wall without a ghost type.
But he has to rely on hacks for this thing.
No, you don't.
Rock. He just relies on hacks, glitches. That's all he's doing. Rely on hacks to win games, like you know.
You play choice
that's
band.
cheap. It's cheap, right?
How is this cheap, but not with Togekiss?
It's cheap. Oh, hold on, right? That's totally different. That's totally different, right? Because
how is it different?
Togekiss come in and just smack you with another move other than Air Slash. This thing's just gonna come in and always just use Tail Slap, King's Rock, boom, boom.
No,
boom.
it's gonna be Tail Slap Choice Band and annihilate you.
No, it's not gonna be this Tail Band Choice Band. Stop it. Alright, go out from me. Alright.
Also, one of the things.
That's it. It's gonna rely on Axe to win. That's what's gonna happen.
We talked about this before. This is also one of the few Pokemon that kept knockoff for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why this thing had to keep it and the other things had to get rid of
It
it.
appreciates for the ghost types.
It's slapping you with its tail, that's why. You gotta knock something off and you get tail slap around the face and get flinched.
This thing's about to smack. If this thing was only there in real life, I should get smacked by that tail. But anyways, let's move on here to Rhydon being picked for ultraplayer here, which they didn't have a ground type yet, so that's a good addition.
Yeah, and Rhydon again at 40 points is relatively good value how reliable it's been able to showcase itself to be throughout the generations, and it's also like very hard to switch into. Like Rock and Crown has always been a very hard dual typing to switch into. Like almost, it's not necessarily like Mamoswine level. Like Ice and Crown is like totally different level, but Rock and Crown go so well together. And he didn't have any other rockers, I believe, thus far other than Mew, so it's nice to get a little bit pressure out of Mew and allow it to do setups options instead of having to get those hazards up.
See, still screwed. That's all I'm saying. He's still screwed.
Alright, then going
The way it is,
to...
guys, he's still screwed.
This is not
He's
bad.
screwed.
This
He's
is not
still
what,
screwed.
not the one of the 3 teams to make into playoffs according to Irish.
No, this is going to be bottom. But this team right here is one of the teams because this is a pick. This is a pick. I love this one. Get that ground type in. Get that ghost type in. We've been talking about. I just think can set up with the iron defenses, bypass everything around it. I think this is glorious. Nice immunity to the Poijz stab for Geraldine. This is beautiful. I love it. Love it.
Thechoicespecs are also a really nasty addition with Togekiss, so I do like this pick for him. I'm interested to see how its ability is gonna plan out, because usually, compared to Gopher-Krieger's Mummy ability was always a beneficial because you got rid of opposing ability, but this thing actually kind of treats it like skill swap, so it's gonna be interesting to see, does he ever run into a scenario where its own ability is gonna hurt himself because he's gaining back a bad ability from opponent, but it's gonna be interesting to see. This is one of the unique mods that we got from this generation, so hopefully it's gonna do well for him, and it provided him things that he didn't really have many yet.
Yeah, I would only like to see this thing getting Shadow Sneak. That would have been really cool.
Or Sword Dance. Like,
All Sword Dance.
Gopher-Krieger's got Nasty Blood. This thing didn't get really that kind of setup itself.
Yeah,
This
unfortunately.
team was created. Can we get away cuss and slack? It was literally just created. Like, you know.
Let's move on to a pick
Come
Irish
on.
can hate on again. Because we have Neuven going to the Helsinki Hydreigon's here, which gives him more speed, which the team didn't have yet, and also a Frisk user, which is pretty valuable in the format.
Yeah, I always wanted to draft them all with Frisk, because I think that's such a nice ability to have. Probably my favorite ability in draft league format, so I'm really excited to get to use that. And Infiltrator is also a phenomenal ability, because you can basically know any screens or something behind the substitute, you can still pull them back as long as you outspeed them. And its speed tier of 123, if I remember right, is just phenomenal in this generation. It was able to keep Defog, it was able to keep Roost, so I have plenty of removers on my team. And heavy duty boots again are a blessing for monsters that are weak to stealth rocks, to give them easier time to switch into, basically internally, as long as they have health left. So I feel like Neuven can be really good in pre-home Galarian decks thanks to its speed tier that it has. And it's not the strongest. It's not the strongest one out there, but it has strong moves to use.
Right, but here's the real question though: how many Hurricanes is this thing gonna miss?
It's not gonna miss any.
No, because it's never going to see the field play auto. That's what's going to be happening.
Alright.
All I see is the weaknesses adding up, Vepsis. I just see the weaknesses adding up. That's all I'm looking at. I'm seeing that tasty easy L when I see your spot.
Alright. Then going for the dual dragon here on the Orlando Magikarp, pairing Kamo up with Goodra, but Goodra is a typical different type of dragon than Kamo, and also this thing is of course drafted under the rain with hydration, so this thing has a way to heal itself up with rest and then instantly get waking up again, which is definitely great for Goodra. Still on the slower side, but definitely a good SPDEF stat as well. And even if he feels like he's not going to run hydration, this thing's still a Zap Zipper. If he feels like his team is weak to something like Grass from Dreadnought or something like that.
Yeah, he's basically kind of redrafted with his own draft, kind of little mini core within its rain alongside with his first 3-4 picks. So it's interesting to see how he's gonna be able to use both Komodo and Goodra, but thankfully they can do different things for him, whereas Komodo can focus on being a setup dragon, whereas this thing can be more like a pivot and a strong bulky attacker which can take hits and dish good hits back as well. And like you said, it has some synergy with the rain that he already picked earlier.
Mm-hmm. And he's actually on the wheel, and he's gonna pair it up with Togedemaru.
Who?
Togedemaru, so he has an electric type going on, he has steel type going on, and Spiky Shield, U-turn, Wish, this thing gets some moves.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's for a reason, but...
Yeah, I guess this is kind of like where it shows that steel types have started to be taken that are very valuable ones, and he's running out of points, so he had to find something around that 16-ish, 40, or maybe even 20-point category. So he opted to go with 40.1 in Togedemaru, and it might have been the best steel type that he was able to get himself at this point. It has a decent speed here, and it gives him some momentum as well, which he doesn't have too many options for momentum, so it does provide him that.
Well, one thing I do like is that it has lightning rod, so it's good for Pelipper synergy. That's something that we have to give this thing.
Yeah, since he doesn't have a ground type yet, so it's definitely a electric immunity for him.
Then going to yourself and picking up Espeon here, because of course Ghost types benefits from no pursuit, but so do Psychic types. So they're really spammable currently, barring Dark types, but I don't feel like our team really worries about Dark types too much.
Yeah, I feel like the Dark types are definitely well covered, and at this point it was like, okay, I have some strong breakers, I have some solid defensive backbone, now I need some elite speed tiers, and that's basically what I went with, having Neuven and Espeon as my following 2 picks, and just Pursuit being gone. A lot of those fast, strong Psychic types not being available in our decks means that Espeon has less competition for that role, and it still has the 110 speed tier stat and also 130 special attack stat, which is very solid. The only thing that I wish it got that it wasn't able to get, like some other evolutions like Shuri was able to get, was the Mystical Fire. Unfortunately it doesn't get that, but barring that it has pretty good solid coverage to go along with.
Alright, so Irish, let's just finally make a pick that amuses you, or still not?
It's his best pick, but like it's the best of a bad bunch.
He's not ever abused with my picks at this point. Yeah.
Alright, then going to a pick you'll probably like, but we're gonna have Orbeetle going to Rewt, which gives him Sticky Webs together with Dracofish. Which,
this man,
at this point, you can even run Bandit, Vicious Rant, and I don't want to be at the receiving end of that.
This man is the ghost! That's what I'm telling you all. You guys let him draft Sticky Webs with Dracofish. Just watch now as he gets Tailwind, and it'll be GG's. It'll be GG's, guys. Good luck. Good luck winning the title with this roster. This is beautiful. Beautiful.
I do love the fact that it also has Frisk ability, which again is phenomenal tool to have.
Do you like being frisked, my friend? I do know that. Yes.
Yeah, then ultraplayer picking also some value picks here going on. Garbodor, ground and poison type, probably one of the better
he has to pick value because his roster is crap because he had no points left after like 6 rounds, like 5 rounds even. He was screwed. He has to pick value.
2 picks.
Yeah, if they want to be good picks after the crap he's after drafting anyways, I'm telling you that much.
I mean, it's a pretty easy one to call this thing trash. It's not really fair.
No, hold on. The whole draft is trash. Not just this Pokemon.
Oh, no.
The whole draft is trash.
I want to laugh if he wins the league. What we're going to see. Then we're going to have a troll going on to the Pittsburgh Pirattatas here with Sableye being one of his Pokemon. Again, might not be the best, but you just don't want to face it. It's annoying.
Yeah, it gives him dark typing that I feel like every single draft should have one. And Sableye might not be the most reliable ones out there, but again, we don't have many dark types left. And it did gain Encore, I believe, for its Prankster Mosludge that it, or its move pool in itself that it can utilize with that. And Prankster will always having still access to knockoff, which many mons do not have access to right now. It's still nice. It's not like a strong offensive knockoff user, but it can be an annoying pivot that can just remove items, and since we don't have like Sea Crystals or Mega Evolutions anymore, so it's always free move to click and just be able to eliminate something's item, which in itself is always valuable to do.
Yeah, again, it's just really annoying, but let's move on to the next one. Being another annoying Pokemon to take down, especially with Hidden Power being gone, is a Mantine. Did lose defog though, so it cannot do that, but again, this thing is pretty hard to break through. And also trying to complete some calls here. Firewater Grass is now in the building here for the Slowbros.
Up in here, up in here. I like it. I like the pick. It works. Covers the ground. It covers extra lovely. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff.
He has 2 ground. This is a good pick because he now has 2 ground immunities in like Hydreigon and Mantine, which he drafted a grass type that's not resisting ground. So that's a good call on his end to try at least have some things other than that can deal with the ground types.
Marolt tonight, we went up into the mountains over the summer and we went on a spiritual journey, and I taught him the ways of Pokemon, and now you're seeing it come to fruition, and this man is on fire today.
You know, Sophia is Johnny picking up Volibee, which is, I still like Volibee as a 40-point Pokemon. It's really bulky, really hard to deal with. Just as Manabelle still kept Defog, Knockoff, and Toxic, which again, no other Pokemon than that line can say. In general, this thing might look like that's on paper, but again, this thing is hard to take down and can definitely do work in the right matches. And for only 40 points, I feel like this is a well pick here.
Yeah, I think I guess what I would say that I'm not biggest fan of is that this is your primary dark type, and I'm just one of those Draft League players who really values those dark types. So I wouldn't personally feel comfortable having this as my dark type, but I definitely can see what it can do.
Hey man, the chicken is doing work.
But what happened, Vepsis, when you had 2 dark types last season? What happened?
What do you mean what happened?
I'll tell you what happened, Vepsis. You lost, right? So don't be talking to me about
I have went
you,
than
you lost. You lost, right? Okay, and that is the facts right there. That's what is in the history books. Don't be talking to me about no dark types, alright? Okay, this man picked up a cheap pick and he's got 140 points to round off that offense. It's beautiful.
Alright, then moving on to another Pokemon for the New York Empoleon, who definitely appreciates the sticky webs being there in Braviary. Again,
Yeah,
no return though, but again, this thing can definitely do work with bulk up and stuff like that. And even on the sticky webs, its slower speed steal doesn't even matter too much.
Yeah, it gives him Define to kind of prevent any defog users coming into his way if he does bring the sticky webs, and gives him a defogger of his own. So back to back, or I guess 3 picks in a row, he was able to pick up a niche remover. And I say it as a niche remover because I don't really value them myself as a reliable remover in their own right, but maybe just having several one of them can help him out, having that Galarian Darmanitan throughout the weeks, that maybe he can always feel one of those mons to have that removal option. But Braviary is just so solid mon in itself to be a strong choice card for a choice bandit user. But like you said, it bruised on its arsenal, so it kinda, because similar to me, kind of lost one of its ways to utilize its set efficiently in Draft League format, but it's still a solid mod. I think it can be a very good value pick for him going forward to bring some of the weeks.
And then for his last,
what's really good about this pick is that Bronzong's going to get rocks up pretty much 99% of the time, because there's very few things in this format that can 1-hit KO. There's very few rapid spinners, so most people are going to have a defogger to try and get rid of hazards. And you are going to want to be able to set up your own hazards here. Like, it gives Goldoa serious hazard control, and it also makes everyone afraid to be spamming defog because of Braviary sitting there ready to come in and get that Defiant boost. So overall, niche, but this thing actually really does fit his team, because he's guaranteed to get rocks up. He's going to force other people to click defog because of lack of rapid spinners, and he's going to get that +2 Defiant boost, and he's going to be able to just smack through something. So it's very good. It works out.
We are 8 rounds deep, and for once, I agree with you. I agree.
You agreed with me earlier on. You agreed with me earlier on, actually, when I said Otto's going to get swept by a Frostmoth. So
okay, too. What as a Stu within the team, this is the first one that I agree with.
All right. Then going to round 9 here, he's going to be kicked off by Goldoa. He's going to pick up Golurk. So he's going to pick up a second ground type, which I definitely appreciate, because again, if Dugtrio is your only ground type, you're doing something wrong. Another Stealth Rock setter though, so they're even adding up on that hazard stacking game.
Yeah, and again, Dugtrio is not your typical ground type that you would like to have on your team, so you're able to kind of have now secondary, more bulkier ground type for your team, and a spin blocker. So those rapid spinners that Iris mentioned that we don't have too many of, now the ones that they do have, well, you have this thing as a spin block. So he was able to now pair this thing with the Defiant Abuser in Braviary. So it's a solid mod at 40 points. I think it's one of those mods that you can see being brought relatively often and being a good value pick. So I don't mind this pick at all, and it still hits relatively hard, and I believe it also gains close combat to its arsenal, which is always a great move to add on any physical attacker.
Yes, for
Man
sure.
needs a rock type. That's what he needs now, and then he should be done.
Well, he has 80 points, and there is still one more pick, so maybe we'll see that as the final pick of the draft. But moving on to the Duckletts again, we have Toxicroak joining in, so he adds a second crown of poison type. So poison, Toxic Spike are staying home this week. They're not bringing them. Fighting type added to the team as well, some priority added to the team, and with some speed tiers being all messed up in this manner currently, this thing still has serious breaking potential after Sword Stance.
Yeah, and I feel like this is reliable fairy killer for him. He has some things that can definitely tank a hit, and Steelix can hit them.
DrSlaking.
Yeah, he has some things that can hit them relatively okay back, or wall them at least, but this one literally nukes them for be able to help Dragapult in that regard, and also bulky dark types if they would come into his round 1 picks way. So there is some synergy within the team that it can help him with in that regard. So not a bad pick. I think it's gonna be a lot more threatening when you actually have to prepare for it, when what you give it credit for throughout the draft in itself, or when you're potentially looking at it.
And you just look at that smile. That smile is of a frog with no mercy. That thing is coming in, that thing wants kills. Then going to Marolt here again, picking up Heliolisk as he did not have his fast electric type here, and also adding a normal type, which of course is very efficient as well. Normal spam in this format.
The man has been taught well. This is another one in my wheelhouse. I just gave him my knowledge, and he's just picking it up and he's running with it. And I love it. This man is on the ray. Let's go.
I mean, I know for a fact there's someone here in this call who really does not like Heliolisk.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it previous generations, but I'll give it credit that at least it has coverage to hit ground types, and a lot of elected types do not have access to hidden power anymore. So that's like a indirect buff for Heliolisk, plus the fact that speed tiers are a lot lesser in this generation. So speed tier is a lot better this generation than prior. And it gave him another water immunity along with Mantine. So it fits his team. I gotta give it to that. I'm still not a big fan of the mod, but I feel like it's better in this generation than prior.
Get out of the front door.
For sure now. Alright, Irish.
Get out of here.
Irish, if you still want to complain about breaking power on this team, I'm not sure what you're doing, but we have Mamoswine going to the Pittsburgh Pirattatas here. Now Mamoswine is about to come in and click those buttons. You know, he's signed.
I gotta give him this one. This is good.
There we go. It's a good sign that he's trying to figure out what to say.
Took 9 rounds.
Do you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna spot that Mamoswine around like my fish when he wants to come and play me, boy. That's what's gonna happen. But yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, but in all fairness though, it's also his second rocker, so that's not only forced to be on Ferrothorn this now going around. So that's a very good addition to that as well. And again, it's one of the best breakers we have. Seems like it's a meme for a reason. Your team loses to Mamoswine. It's a meme, but it's one for a reason.
Yeah, the
I
fact
will be
that
one that's going to be breaking top. That's what's going to be happening. No Mamoswine's going to be breaking me, boy.
Just the fact that he got it around 9 is in itself pretty huge value. Because normally you see it go a lot earlier.
And also the fact he was able to pick Ferrothorn, which is one of the better counters to Mamoswine in general.
Yeah, real talk though. Where was UltraPlayer picking this month? Like round 5?
UltraPlayer
when he could have needed it.
The elephants. Let's go, Raja. Going to the West Virginia Miniors again. I haven't used this one yet in draft leagues. I've used it on ladder, but I'm a decent fan of this thing. I definitely think it's fun to use. It's not your typical steel type, but you'll find this thing surprisingly effective in a more offensive role.
Yeah. And it gave him another stealth rocker, so now he has, I believe, thus for 3 rockers. And just having Mew not having to run those is really nice. And just the fact that he's able to get a steel type like this on a round 9 when we saw some other steel types that normally you would not expect to be picked in period is pretty fantastic for him. That he's able to get a relatively good steel type. It's not the greatest one out there, but I think it can be pretty solid. And its coverage and its attacks that is insane in itself. Like heavy metal and the sheer force abilities are great for it, for what moves it get access to. So it's gonna be like a bulky offensive mon that can be hard switching to, and you can EV it properly to take key hits.
And also the fact it gets heat crash for opposing steel types.
Yeah.
Definitely great. Then going to Rewt here, who's finally picking something up with more defensive powers here. Getting Mushana, which is a psychic type I'm definitely a fan of. Most of the time when I don't have a psychic type of my team and I want something to resist fighting, I go to the lowest tier and I get Mushana here, which for me has definitely put in the work in the past.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that he picked both Orbital and Mushana, but maybe he looked into matchups in the future and be like, okay, Orbital might not help me with this thing, but Mushana would. So maybe this is something that he was willing to be flexible, having double psychics in that regard and fulfill different roles for him upcoming weeks.
No question about it. Rewt was looking ahead and he knew he needed a bulky psychic type. That's because of the type of player he is.
The pick number 9 for Vepsis himself is going to be regular Rotom here, which is going to give you 2 tokens you didn't have so far.
Get out. Move on. This is hot trash, right? Okay.
I would say Rotom is always a Pokemon which I face.
Get out.
I heavily underprepare for Rotom because I'm just looking at just a Rotom. I don't mind that thing.
You're a scrub, Otto. We've been over.
No, this is one of those things you easily underestimate because it's very annoying to do.
Because you're a scrub. We've been over this, right? Next pick. This is hot trash. Let's move on. Let's just move on.
Alright, fine. We have Ludicolo here for the Raincore. You happy now?
Yeah, this see, the Specs, right, did what, you know, Ultra Player should have done and realized halfway through his draft that he screwed up. So I better figure out something else, and that's exactly what I did. So he changed tact, came up with something, and it's going to be working out. He just changes Arcanine out for one out of mod, and this team is fine. This team is going to be able to cause havoc. Yeah. And Specs Ludicolo in the rain is quite scary. So
and he has I
like it.
He has only 20 points left though, so let's see what he is going to do, because we're going to go around 10, so let's see on his wheel what he is going to pick with his last 20 points. It's actually going to be Meowstic here, which doesn't have Prankster currently, so that's not a thing he can do.
Get screen, son.
It gets screen, but no Prankster.
These are enough. Them screens are enough. He's going to be putting up them screens and you're going to have to wash them down because you ain't breaking through them, boy. That's what's happening.
Alright, I mean, you can definitely provide that support. It's just with Prankster a bit easier to pull off, but that's why it's now 20 instead of 40. So let's move on to the next pick for the final pick for the Hydreigons here with Santa Scourge.
Yeah, this is a mod that at first I didn't give too much credit for, because I was at first a little bit disappointed. Like, I feel like it should have been something like a Scolopede with the Volcarona typing, and it didn't end up being that. But then I started to see how it was able to perform on a ladder, and I was like, you know what?
Sorry, hold on. What typing is Volcarona again?
Fire and Bug.
Fire and Bug. No, it's the same. It's the same typing. Okay, just making sure.
Irish, shut up, you're drunk.
Yeah.
Just making sure you knew the facts. Because you're like, oh, I want this to be Scolopede with Volcarona's typing. I'm like, it pretty much is though, because it's like.
But it's not. It doesn't have like speed. It doesn't have speed boost. It's not as fast. Like, it's actually not as fast that at least I thought it would be.
This thing gets fire lash. Like, he just smacks people around and just loads.
I know. I'm not saying that it's not bad mod by any means. I do actually like it a lot more now than I originally did when I saw it on paper-wise. So I'm quite excited to give it a go and see what it can do. And it also has Knockoff, which again is not widely contributed right now pre-home. So that's nice to have on my team besides the Obstagoon. And yeah, and like Rampage is mentioning, like the boots are just a huge factor.
Here we go, relying on the chat for his takes.
He reminded me about that item, and I was like, you know what, that's a big thing.
How would this thing wear boots though? You need to buy a lot of them.
You know what, we have the money, it's not a problem.
Alright.
Money is no object for this man, you know?
And then we have a really good round 10 pick here for Rewt, a Pokemon I definitely enjoyed in the past a lot. I drafted a lot. Drapion here being his grounded poison type, and also his dark type, which he did not have a dark typing yet if I look correctly, so being able to pick Drapion in round 10 is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a solid mod, like one of the few mods that was able to keep Knockoff and remain it also being a stab is a huge thing. And just overall, it's dual typing, it's one of the best typings out there which we have got introduced in, and I'm a huge fan of this mod. Unfortunately, Pursuit is gone, which was one of the big things going for it in previous generations, but that's the thing for any other dark type or mod that had access to it, so it's no shame for it in itself. And I like the Mushana, which I feel like was more matchup dependent. I feel like this team this mod right now being picked on this team, like, again, seemed like a very good fit typing wise and what else it can provide for him.
You heard about it.
Damn right, about the West Virginia Miniors here.
Man. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Running up Ultra Player squad, we have Jolteon here, putting in some more speed, which is I mean, they had Italian, but they even forced a little bit more speed preparation here now with Jolteon, which although I do have to say, I feel like Jolteon is one of those electric types that really struggles now without hidden power.
Yeah, like its coverage is basically, and also the fact that Signal Beam is gone, this thing's coverage is basically Shadow Ball and Hyper Voice, I think. Like, you don't really have much coverage besides its stab, so that's kind of like, the speed tier is really nice when we don't have many elite speed tier mons, and this is one of the only monster that forces something like Dragapult to be timid nature on paper or jolly nature in that regard. So it has some value in that regard, but I don't know. I need to see it perform in this generation without the hidden power to say like how efficient it actually can still be.
If I watched it on this team, man, because this team's going to be trash. It's going to be the worst team in the whole division, man. You know, it's simple as that. No point forming any form of opinion on JoJo based on
We will see when the Pirattatas just completely smacked all the people that you said were gonna do well. But anyways, let's move on to the last pick here for top and the Pittsburgh Pirattatas being Xatu. So Xatu is gonna add some magic bounce, which is definitely great for this team as well. Gives them a psychic type, gives them a flying type as well. And overall, Xatu is also one of those Pokemon where lower tier at the end of the draft, these are some value picks you want to make sure you secure for yourself.
Yeah, and outside of like I believe Halusa that still somehow was able to keep default, this primary has a control through the magic bounce, and Xatu still also lost default as well. So I feel like the magic bounce was a huge factor for honestly just to pick this one up because he lacked hazard control. Outside of it, he has hazard stacking options, but in regards to be able to prevent them or remain on his side, this is gonna be one of his better ways to do it. So I can see why he picked this one. Maybe not the ideal situation for him to be in, but that's kind of the Galarian decks for you in regards to hazard control.
Yep. And then going to the final 3 picks that we have Marth here with Duocean. And again, this is one of those annoying lower tier Pokemon with Violet gets really bulky. Knockoff is really not there, barring a few Pokemon. It's really hard.
Doing it once again. This is a pick, man. This is beautiful. My man, doing it once again. Marolt, you legend. Love it, man. This is beautiful.
We'll see where this thing can go without Knockoff. I see that.
Oh, I am in awe. This man has learned so much.
That second to last pick, we have Sandaconda, because this team, of course, did not have. I mean, they had Steelix, but they want a second ground typing here going on with Sandaconda, which is an interesting Pokemon with Glare. Stealth Works potential as well on this thing too. I'm just not really sure how you would bring this over Steelix in some matches, but I can also see the factor of Glare being like a thing.
Cool setup. That's when you want to be. It's when you want to be a snake and slither your way to victory. That's when you bring this thing, when you're trying to be slight.
Yeah, that's just click some coil and then click some buttons.
A dirty snake. That's what that is. You wouldn't want to trust Johnny with this thing knocking around anyways.
He has a little bit of snake core going on now, looking at Dragapult, Steelix, and Sandaconda. So maybe that was
snake. He's now a snake. I'm telling you, that's what's going on. He's a snake.
Yes. And then going to the final pick of Gildora being a Selgor, which of course gives him more speed control as well. One of the fastest Pokemon in the competition right now. Gives him Toxic Spikes, gives him Spikes, and in general just bug spam can be pretty efficient. So that's where he's going to end his draft off.
Yeah, again, like he provides some hazard deterrers in Braviary and Golurk with preventing, I guess, the defog or encouraging not to click that move and having a spin blocker. So adding just all the potential hazards in the game in one mon in the last round is a pretty solid pick in that regard. I feel like his draft overall lacks some key typings, but maybe if he's just able to be more unorthodox in that regard and just fulfill a certain game plan with his first pick, with being the Galarian Darmanitan, get up his hazards and just go in with that mon, or with something he's was able to also pick in Surface and Braviary will be the things that carry him throughout the season. But a little bit unorthodox looking draft in my opinion, but it's very threatening to still to go up against for sure, and hazard stacking options is gonna be one of the big factors for this draft.
And with that was actually the end of the draft for today. So again, be sure to also join in on SilverBeanie's Twitch channel tomorrow at 1 PM EST, where we will be having the Salt Division draft. So we will find out the other 8 coaches and what they have been drafting. Both drafts will also be uploaded to YouTube, so if you couldn't watch this entire thing, it will be on YouTube on the UBL channel, !UBL for all the links. And of course, the one which will go up tomorrow will also be posted there. So if you cannot be around tomorrow, you can also watch it on the YouTube channel. Of course, the draft leaks, the coaches itself are going to upload on Wednesday, as we said before. Draft recaps go live on the 5th. Week 1 battles 1 week after, and afterwards we're going to move on and see where that is gonna go. Also, one thing again, for the playoff race is more tight here. We only have 3 teams from these 8 going into the playoffs. Not 4, we only have 3. We have to be strict here. Only 3 going. Number 1 gets a bye, and the other 2 will battle it out versus the numbers 2 and 3 of the other division. So that's what we're gonna have here. Of course, huge thanks to Vepsis and Irish joining me on this stream here. So anything you guys want to say before we head out?
Don't forget, guys, on Twitter and Discord, let us know who's the better analyst here, Auto, Vepsis, or of course myself, undisputedly. But let us know anyway, so I can, tell the other guys forevermore that I was better than them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just make sure to tune in for this season because it's gonna be one hell of a ride, and make sure to check out the courses for tomorrow. We have some really cool names out there as well, some new ones and some familiar ones that you can really look forward to. And yet again, so stay tuned for tomorrow and for the season.
Yes, that's a very good point here. It's the first season of the generation in the league, and first seasons can be wild, man. People are experiencing the meta, are still learning, so we will see who will learn the fastest and who will be getting a glance of what is good and how they are going to make their draft work in this thing.
Nearly Auto, I like it.
So we will see how it all turns out. Again, be sure to tune in tomorrow at SilverBeanie's Twitch, and we will see you guys back the next time.